Good morning, everybody, and welcome into Bet the Edge. It's Monday, July 18th. Thank you for everyone watching on our YouTube channel. It's NBC Sports Edge, and today is very special because rookies are reporting today for camp. So what better time than now to roll out our final edition of our three-part series counting down training camp. The show today will be handicapping NFL offensive and defensive rookie of the year markets. Will Brinson from CBS Sports is coming, also our own Pat Kerrane. We're talking some long shots, all the major value. Of course, our edge of the day is today. All coming on Bet the Edge, powered by PointsBet. I am Vaughn Dalzell. Right next to me is Drew Dinsick, a.k.a. the Well Capper. And Drew, we had a great show on Friday. I told you guys I had some Victor Hovland in my pocket. That dude folded like some origami. Cam Smith coming hard, man. The best putting I've seen in a long time, I felt like. He steals the show and wins it all. How'd you feel about the U.S. Open over the weekend?
I loved it. It was a great entertainment. Cam Smith getting the win was long overdue. I felt like he was dancing on some of these major championships, coming in second at the Masters and really playing some unbelievable golf when it mattered the most. So you felt like the breakthrough was coming. He does it in spectacular fashion with one of the most superlative back nines that we've ever seen. The fact that Cam Young was putting pressure on him and that they were playing together made it that much sweeter. Couldn't believe that both the Cams, took 1 and 2 out of Rory's pocket, because as we went into the Sunday round, Rory was an prohibitively high expected win probability there. And not to be. Cam Smith had too many bullets left and really just one of the more spectacular final rounds that I can remember to win a major. So I love it when it ends that way, when it's somebody who's playing that well, clinching a title. Cam Smith's an easy guy to cheer for. So felt pretty positive about the way things broke down. And you brought up his putting. He takes, I don't know if you knew this, but he takes one long look at the hole before it putts. Can you imagine if he took 2 long looks? He'd be even better. Some of the stories in in our own NBC broadcast were kind of silly, but overall, Cam Smith is easy to cheer for, and what a great tournament.
Definitely an easy chair for when you have hair like that and a mustache like that too. It definitely doesn't hurt, but yeah, Rory just couldn't make anything, man. When it came down to clutch, like you just kept putting everything, and you're just waiting for that eagle, that birdie, and it never came. Really, the only other news that came over the weekend, of course, I'm wearing my Yinzer shirt. The Pirates got Tamar Johnson. We had the MLB draft. I think it was another situation where a number 1 pick doesn't happen, where everyone thought it was going to, and then of course the Portland Trail Blazers beat the Knicks in the Las Vegas Summer League. Trenton Watford named MVP. Knicks, again, can't win anything. Drew, any thoughts on any of those things?
Well, the MLB draft was crazy. That's 4 for 4 now, where the chalk has not come home in draft number 1 overall picks, which is absolutely wild. You mentioned it. The Summer League was completely unpredictable. I did not see anyone backing the Portland Trail Blazers to win Summer League. I did not know Trenton Watford had anywhere close to that much game, but the Portland Trail Blazers need some of these young guys to make a leap quickly if they're going to kind of vault themselves back into contention with Dame Lillard this year. So interesting overall, but Summer League was not profitable for many of the professionals that I know.
Yeah, I don't think it was for many people. But if you didn't know the Trailblazers won, it's okay, because Damian Lillard didn't even know the Trailblazers won until they FaceTimed him yesterday and told him. So that was pretty funny to see. But let's hop into NFL. Right before that, it's just a reminder, if you guys don't have the app yet, go to your app store, get NBC Sports Predictor app powered by PointsBet. It's on all the app stores. The contests are free, super easy play. You can win thousands. We have MLB, the slates there, PGA Tour, the NASCAR circuit. You can tell or fade our guys on Battle of the Bets. If you were telling Drew last week, you were getting paid, ladies and gentlemen. He did not come through on Friday, but we will have an edition back starting next week when baseball comes back. So make sure you guys check that out. And we'll also have a home run derby special edition coming too. So I'll get to that a little bit later, though. But let's talk some football, man. Let's bring in Will Brinson of CBS, Pat Kerrane of our very own NBC Sports. Talk some offensive rookie of the year with everyone. First off, Will, how are you doing, man? Thanks for joining the show. Pat, you too.
What's up, guys? Good Sunday, actually. It looked like it was going to be a disaster because of Rory runaway and Cam Smith. Look, I mean, I'm not supposed to talk football, but I felt like Rory went out and tried to shoot a 70, because he believed if Victor went over par, which he thought he might, or he shot even, he just didn't think Victor was going to play well. He believed if he shot a 70, someone was going to have to shoot a friggin' 30 on the back nine to beat him, and Cam Smith went and did it. And sometimes when you have a mullet and a wispy mustache and the Australian nerves of steel, nothing else matters. If you can putt your face off. So tough scene for Rory, but happy for Cam Smith, who I took out outright in May, actually.
Ooh. What was that price?
Ooh.
Like 27, not that great.
Nah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I had Vic in my Calcutta though, so that was.
Oh,
So it sounded like a pretty good weekend for you, then.
Yeah,
sounded like a pretty good weekend for you, then.
Yes.
All right, Pat.
Me.
Yeah, I like that. Well, let's talk some football, Pat. I want to start with you, man, because me and you, we got to spend some time together at the Super Bowl, and we got to talk a little bit there. And I want to know, with everything going on now, it's been quite some time with camp starting up. We have all these rookies. We got Kenny Pickett of my Steelers leading the way, Breece Hall, Treylon Burks, Drake London. My personal favorite is Sky Moore to win Rookie of the Year. But let me hear what your thoughts are and where we should be looking in that market.
Yeah, I do have to call you out a little bit there. I wasn't at the Super Bowl. That was our other Pat. So
that was our other Pat. That was you guys. It's amazing how many names we have, but I deserve that.
But I love the Sky Moore take. So we're cool again. Sky Moore I like a lot. As I look at the top of the board here on PointsBet, I kind of wish I was getting more of a discount on Treylon Burks after some of this conditioning stuff. Like, ultimately, I'm not expecting that will have a huge impact on his career, but maybe it'll cost him some playing time early on, which could hurt, obviously, for Rookie of the Year. Drake London a little bit longer odds slightly. So I'd like to see Burks fall below that before I'd be interested in him. But I do like Treylon Burks a lot as a prospect. When I go down, I'm kind of scrolling until I see something I really like. This is a contingent play, but I do like Rachaad White a lot, 50-1. He's going to need a Fournette injury at some point to probably actually get enough work to win the thing. But I think he'll be involved early. We had Greg Allman on a Good Football Show saying he believes that White is already the number 2 back behind Fournette. And, this is an offense that was getting Ronald Jones involved in the screen game in 2020 at a decently high rate. So White, who has this incredible receiving skill set, I think will get involved on early down passes, even if he doesn't get a ton of work right away on third down, because they're going to trust Fournette on those kind of key pass blocking situations. But he'll get work. And then if there's an extended stretch that Fournette is out, I think he could put enough together. It's kind of like an Alvin Kamara type. So he's really interesting to me. He's probably the one that jumps out just kind of as a fun long shot.
Ooh, I love that. Love that look. Haven't heard anyone else bring that up. And 50-1 is kind of where you ought to be shopping in this market, by my opinion. Every award sort of has a blueprint of like how the voters tend to break. And for this particular award, this feels like the one offensive award that's not as QB centric. I mean, we had a rookie QB take a team to the playoffs last year, and he wasn't really given much consideration considering what Jamar Chase did. But so I feel like the recipe is literally opportunity. Like, you just need a role, like a legitimate role, and then you're good. You're in the mix. Will, is there anyone who kind of fits that mold of the skill position players, either at the top of the board or just overall in this market that that immediately pops to mind in that context?
I think you're right, by the way, Drew. It's not, and I mean, Mac Jones should have won last year. Like, Jamar, I mean, obviously I say that as a biased Mac. But like Mac was at -200 going into week 18 or week 17 or whatever it was, whenever Jamar Chase went nuts, and he just flipped it. And it is a good reminder that, when you talk about these awards, there are blueprints for each one of them. And you got to remember, there are 50 sports. I was going to make a Pete Prisco joke. There's 50 people like Pete Prisco who are voting on these awards every single year. And it's just, you can kind of follow how they're going to operate. I think that especially for the offensive player of the year or offensive rookie of the year, excuse me, the top of the board is just not very intriguing. I mean, I think Sky Moore at 11-1 is fine. I don't hate Kenneth Walker at 12-1 because we've seen Josh Jacobs probably should have beaten out Kyler Murray for it. Kyler ended up stealing it. But if you get a workhorse running back who piles up a bunch of yards, they don't have to have a ton of wins for the team necessarily. Like a quarterback their team has to win, right? So like that's the problem. I mean that maybe that seems obvious. I don't think it necessarily is, because you look at like Kenny Pickett, they could be the third or fourth best team in that division. No offense. We could have taken. Yeah, I mean, he might not even play. He's the favorite. And
he's not going to play. Trubisky should start. Trubisky should be the starter.
Trubisky is going to be the starter through their bye week. I think their bye is week 9. Through their bye, and if for some reason the Steelers are like 3-6 or 3-5 or whatever it is, then maybe Pickett comes in. There's zero reason to bet Kenny Pickett plus 650. Desmond Ridder at 20-1. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like Desmond Ridder. I mean, I think Desmond Ridder's fine, but he's playing in an offense where, like, on a team with there's maybe 3 players you would want on your franchise. It's like Kyle Pitts, AJ Terrell, and Grady Jarrett's still very good, but whatever. The point being is that, like, I think the way to look at it is the way that Pat did too, which is attack this like mid to deeper range in the 40 to 50 stuff. The Rashad White is a great look. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is an interesting look at 66-1. Justin Ross at 50-1 is probably more of a long shot, but like John Mechie at 50-1. I mean, there's just not a lot of, like, Davis Mills showed a lot of promise. The Texans are clearly going to roll with him. Mechie, there's not a ton of competition for targets. Same thing with Wan'Dale. It's like, he's going to a team where, yeah, they probably stink, but if he piles up a bunch of stats, that cattail is freaking me out, Drew. If he piles up a bunch of stats for the Giants, then, like, I mean, it's not. This is not an award of, like, it's not like the MVP or the Heisman where you have to win a bunch of games. You just have to, like, give the voters a reason to believe that you're the best rookie out there. And I think in this class in particular, that 40 to 51 range is the way to look.
Interesting. And right now we're seeing David Bell getting 22% of the counted points, but Breece Hall, who we didn't talk about a little bit too much, 14%, and Tyler Algier from BYU. Talking some long shots, you guys are, already covering it. Like, there's no value top of the board. I have to agree with you. Outside of Sky Moore, like, I'm not willing to bet on any of those guys. And, it's pretty clear with that for me. But talking long shots, Pat, I'll start with you. Anybody else? You already gave us 50-1, so if you don't have many more, I understand. But give us something good.
I'll give you another 50-1. I like Tyler Algier a decent amount. Again, just kind of going for it. This is kind of almost an opposite case of the White case, in that we don't need any kind of contingencies to play out. Like, we just are hoping for a roll. It's on a bad offense. I do agree this team's not going to win many games. So that's not ideal, but this is a bigger back. He had a really nice breakaway profile at BYU, despite not being the fastest guy. He's a 4.6 40 guy, but he's a big back, gets up to speed pretty quickly, hard to bring down. He's going to be kind of a poor man's Derrick Henry in this offense. And this was a team that gave Mike Davis a lot of work. He had almost 200 opportunities last year, despite being phased out of the offense down the stretch. They've hinted that they might use Cordell Patterson a little bit more as like a true receiver, which makes sense because they really don't have anybody behind Drake London. So you could see Patterson still be plenty involved in the offense, but not as much out of the backfield as he was last year, opening up even more opportunity for Algier. And maybe the expectations of what we think for the Falcons, if he's racking up rushing yards in this offense, we could get pretty excited about him.
Oh, it's fascinating. So the through line here does feel like opportunity is key, just based on sort of the teams we're picking on. And, if you go towards teams that are expected to finish well out of it, those teams should be giving their rookies as much opportunity as possible. Like, you want to develop a guy like Algier if you're Atlanta. Like, that makes all of the sense in the world. And so it's kind of a perfect synergy there with huge price and guy who's going to get more opportunity than the market believes. Same with the John Mechie call out. That so far, I think I'm actually going to end up at the end of this show going up and firing some of these long shots, because all of this makes perfect sense to me. But ultimately because this does come down to opportunity. Can you explain to me why everybody is high on Sky Moore, Pat?
I think, part of it is opportunity because you have this uncertain receiving core for the Chiefs. I also think with Sky Moore, he brings versatility to the mix. He was good on the outside. He was really good in the slot. He's seen as a guy who gets off the line pretty quickly. I think he's not like necessarily a great deep threat, but a 4.4 140, he does have decent speed. So whatever the Chiefs end up needing from him, he should be able to deliver. Right now, they're talking about him as like the backup slot receiver. So in terms of like week one opportunity, it's not ideal, but he was an early declare wide receiver. He was highly productive. He was highly efficient in yards per out run throughout his career. Second round pick. So he does kind of have a high ceiling type of prospect profile, small school, and, you know, not like the biggest guy in the world. And again, going deep isn't necessarily like what he does best, but as a guy who could get a lot of work in the intermediate area, either from the slot or from the outside. Maybe he pushes Mecole Hardman down the depth chart to number 4 again and is kind of playing like a Z type of role in the offense. If that happens, he's playing with Patrick Mahomes. If he's as good as it looks like he could be, you know, I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I know Sky Moore a little personally. He's cousins to one of my best friends growing up, and he's been getting a lot of Patrick Mahomes love. So that's the only reason why I really like him, because I know Juju Smith's there, but I don't think Juju's going to have the season that most people fantasy drafting and want to. So, Will, sorry to cut you off there. I want to hear your thoughts kind of on that wideout market, and if you have any long shot bets that you feel pretty good about.
No. I should be cut off far more often than I am. I actually was just looking really quickly. Since 2010, by the way, only 3 times has the offensive rookie of the year been on a team that won 10 or more games. And one of those teams somehow was the Washington football team. Like, how did it, like, you know, like a very unusual set of circumstances colliding. The Commandos or whatever we're calling them right now. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned some of the long shots. I mean, you start getting down into like how deep, like, I mean, you look at. I wanted to say Bailey Zappi, but I couldn't do it with a straight face. I mean, one of the things is kind of. No, there's not really. Yeah, fine. You know what? I'll do it. I'll be a hammer. Zonovan Knight, 250 to 1. Insane return skills. Insane breakaway speed. Bam is a monster. And if he actually gets reps as like any type of starter reps, and I know it's 250 to 1, so it is a long shot that he would get starter reps so that he would be the number 1 back. But if you think about how often we see depth charts fluctuate in the NFL, like the only guys in front of him are Breece Hall, rookie, Michael Carter, who's not the Duke guy, the UNC guy, and Tevin Coleman, right? And so he's got Michael P. Ryan, but I mean, like 250 to 1. If you get 2 injuries, Bam Knight is a perfect fit for that zone blocking, 1 cut, get upfield and rip it off type of scheme. So at 250 to 1, you want a really, really, really deep long shot? I will be a full blown homer and say Bam Knight.
I'm trying to come up with any parallel. Has an undrafted free agent ever won rookie of the year? You got to go back
way back,
probably. Yeah, like before they had the draft, maybe. I'm gonna do some research on that and figure it out. But that is a deep cut. But at the same time, if you're in a class this overall, like, yeah, going for the long shot makes total sense. So
almost Mike Anderson, 6th round.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's pretty close. Yeah, that's very close.
And Drew, if you really want to draw a parallel there, Mike Anderson played for Mike Shanahan.
Oh, wow.
Who is the mentor for Kyle Shanahan, who's the mentor for LaFleur, whichever LaFleur is running the thing, or whoever's running, whichever one of Kyle Shanahan's disciples is running.
We're putting the strings on the Pepe Sylvia chart now, I think. But in seriousness though, the fact that Mike Anderson did win as a 6th round pick is pretty wild. Pat, as a fantasy guy, and can I get your temperature on some of these wide receivers that we saw go in the top 10, notably London and Wilson? We've kind of passed over them. I'm assuming it's, that the sentiment is these are going to be bad offenses. They may have opportunity, but they may not be able to really distinguish themselves. And in fact, like, does it hurt you if you're a guy like Drake London and you're wide receiver 1 and you are getting the attention of the CB1 on the other team? And, oh, by the way, you don't have a quarterback that can necessarily throw you open?
Yeah, and also maybe the offense is fighting going to the passing game as much as possible. They're running, they have a really low pass rate over expected, which I think is a fair assumption to make about the Falcons, a very fair assumption to make about the Titans. It's a fair assumption to make about the Jets. So all these really high drafted wide receivers, at least those three, it's a little tougher to see how they're in like prolific passing offenses. Garrett Wilson at least is a little bit longer odds than Burks and London. And Garrett Wilson, I think, from fantasy, he's really getting slept on. And I like getting him at a little bit of a discount to the other two here at 10-1. He's just really good. And I think there's a possibility that maybe he plays ahead of Elijah Moore in 2 wide receiver sets, and Corey Davis is the other outside wide receiver. I'm not sure that's the most likely scenario, but I think it's possible. And Elijah Moore would be out of the slot, assuming the Jets would then play a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. But if Wilson is basically, a starter in all situations, he does have a path, even if the offense isn't all that good, which we would expect that it will not be that great. But, if Zach Wilson takes a step forward this season and it's seen as Garrett Wilson really driving that improvement, I think there's a possibility here.
You agree with that, Will?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the problem for me is that, and this is sort of like my first round leader in golf, like rant that I like to go on is like, or even the outright market is that what's happened is you've seen sports books in general. And this is not, I'm not talking about PointsBet specifically. I'm talking about like every single sports book. When you look at these odds, or when you look at MVP odds, you look at Super Bowl odds, they've shrunk the market because they don't want to be torched by futures. And so the math does not add up where Kenny Pickett is 6.5. Like all these guys can't be under 20-1 in a real fair market. Like that is not accurate. Especially when one of them is Desmond Ridder. Like it is not accurate. So like that for me is the problem when looking at these 10-1s. But I do think Garrett Wilson, you have to have a guy who gets volume. And again, we don't need a team that has to win a bunch, but you need a team that has to make I think Pat points out, it's like take a step forward, right? Zach Wilson needs to improve. The Jets need to improve. They don't need to win the division. They don't need to be a wild card team. They just need to be in the mix for the 3rd best team in the division in the AFC East. And people will say, oh, this guy comes in and makes an impact like that. And then yes, that's his path to win. I would rather take Garrett Wilson than Sky Moore personally, just because you're talking about the opportunity there.
Yeah.
Like you're just going to see more targets. You're going to see more focus in terms of how you're using the offense.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you about in general the top of the board prices being absolutely nonsense. Detached from reality is, I think, a fair way to kind of characterize it. But if or when Marcus Mariota gets hurt week 1, what's the fair price for Ridder?
Like 5 to 1. It's a good question. Like, look, Kyler Murray won. Justin Herbert won Rookie of the Year and went. They went, I believe,
5-11, maybe
7-9 somehow. Yeah. Then they went. Actually, I can't believe Anthony Lynn got fired over 7-9. That's kind of surprising. And then we had Kyler Murray won it, and the Cardinals went 5-10-1. So like, if Ridder like wins the starting job or takes over in week 1, and the Falcons win 6 games, like he is in the mix when it comes to voting because their defense ain't going to win them the games, and like I don't think their running game is going to win the game. If they win 6 games and Desmond Ridder plays 18 of them or even 15 of them, they won 6 games because Desmond Ridder is way better than we thought he would be. Is that likely to happen? No, but it's not. Yeah, a fair price for Desmond Ridder if he starts week 1 is probably like 7-1.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we know he's going to have volume if he ends up starting. The Falcons ran the ball the most outside the Titans on first down, and they had the worst second down percentages in yards per gain in the NFL, according to Warren Sharp. So a lot more passing will be in the Falcons' future this year, in my opinion. But before we bring everybody back,
Arthur Smith, pal.
But that's true. That's true. I said he loves to run the ball, but we'll get to the defensive side of the ball right here in a second. We bring back Will and Pat Kerrane, not Roto Pat. He'll never let me live that down. But Sundays are going to be special up until football because we still have Sunday leadoff. presented by Uber Eats. That's on Peacock Baseball this weekend. We have the Cubs and the Phillies, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. It's on NBC and Peacock. Make sure you guys check that out. And if you download the app, like I said earlier, $25,000 out there for free to play. Just go to your app store and download the app. NBC Sports Predictor, powered by PointsBet. Sunday free Grand Slam. All right, bring the boys back in. It's time to talk some NFL. Defensive side of the ball now. Very wide market in my opinion. Will, I'm going to start with you here. You know, we got the Aiden Hutchinson. We got Kayvon Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker. I like Kyle Hamilton and Quay Walker too. I feel like those guys present a little bit of value, but we already said the top of these markets don't have too much value before week 1. So where are you going, my friend?
I mean, Drew had the phrase earlier, the blueprint for each of these awards, and it's like you could not be more accurate. I mean, that is the truth. Like you can, the MVP is a quarterback. It's a quarterback with the best record. It's just the professional Heisman. That's all it is, right? Like, yep. and for defensive player of the year, you can kind of see a blueprint emerge as well if you sort of figure out how these voters operate. And the reality, it depends on the season. There are some variables, of course, but by and large, it's the best pass rusher unless someone has an elite season statistically, either as a cornerback or a defensive back in a very rare case like Marshawn Lattimore in 2017, or more likely as a linebacker like Darius Leonard or Luke Kuechly, however you want to classify Von Miller. And then, of course, you could have an Aaron Donald rushing from the interior, but he also had, I believe, he had 9 sacks as a rookie. Not bad. Excuse me. So when I look at this, I want to target the edge rushers if I can, but I don't really want to be involved in anybody under 10-1. Same deal with the, same complaint with the defensive side as the offensive side. So maybe the two guys I would sort of look at from the jump would be Jermaine Johnson, 11-1. Again, like I don't think that's a great price for him, but if I'm trying to get past, I want double digits if I'm going a defensive rookie of the year. And then George Karlaftis, I think at 20-1 is kind of interesting just because of you get sack potential. Like if you get 8 to 10 sacks as a rookie, it means you're making an impact for your team. It means you're being discussed in this conversation. And if somebody goes full Micah Parsons, you're not going to win it. But the Micah Parsons was probably in that, I don't know, 10 to. Was he the favorite last year? I could be wrong.
I think he was the favorite, but it wasn't prohibitively high. 7-1, 7-1 maybe. Yeah. But
7-1. I mean, when Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau are both 5.5-1. It's like 7-1 for Michael Parsons. I mean, obviously in hindsight, feels pretty good.
I would say though that at this time last year, he was expected to have more of like
he was a linebacker, not a
he was expected to have a pass, pass defense role that was broader than he actually had, and I think people thought he was just going to rack up tackles, and I was way cold on him 1 year ago today. And actually, it was like halftime of game 1 that Quinn really adjusted the way he was utilizing him. So it really was kind of in season that they changed how
they did not come into the year saying this guy's going to be a pass rusher.
No, they didn't even know he was capable.
Had they, we would have bet him at 7-1.
No, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So I'll throw this to Pat then. If this is a pass rushers award this year, and we have some elite guys that went at the top of the draft, this is not a not a surprise that those guys are at the top of this board. Who has the cleanest path to 8 to 10 sacks, and why is it Aiden Hutchinson who gets to play the Bears twice?
Yeah, that feels right to me. I do at least. If you look at Walker 8-1, he's got a little bit longer odds than the other top 2 guys. So that is like slightly appealing to me. Just as you're betting on he's a bit more raw, the athleticism, but if that's there, he should be able to get to the quarterback and get sacked. So I don't know, at a slight discount to the other 2 top guys, that's a bit appealing. But yeah, overall, it's a tough year for defensive rookie of the year because if one of these pass rushers gets there, they're going to win it. And we've got 3 really high end guys. So it makes it kind of difficult. I think ultimately, one of these 3 is a pretty big favorite to take it down.
Is there one that you can say is easiest to rule out?
I don't have a strong lean there. I guess maybe Thibodeau would be my lean because he's got the same price as Hutchinson, and I like Hutchinson better. But yeah, do you guys have one of these guys that you'd rule out?
I mean, I have a personal bias for Trayvon Walker. After he made half the internet a bunch of money in the draft, but like I think Hutch does make sense with the. I mean, again, the Bears thing is not like that's not real. Like, I mean, the Bears stink. Like the Bears are gonna stink this year. They didn't do anything. Like their number one upgrade for their offense and to help out Justin Fields was a trade for N'Keal Harry this offseason. Like that is about as. I mean, obviously you can I'm making N'Keal Harry jokes, but I mean, like they didn't do anything to help Justin Fields this offseason. So like that could be, you look at like was it Chandler Jones last year who had like 5 sacks in week 1, and then like Aiden Hutchinson could get 6 sacks against the Bears. And that alone will those two big games there would win you the award essentially.
Yeah. Do you like Hutchinson lined up better against the left tackle in Braxton Jones or against the right tackle in Larry Borum?
There's real people.
Those are the Bears. Those are the Bears starting tackles right now.
What about the guy from their boy from
Jenkins?
He's supposed to be the second string right tackle at the moment. They've got a fourth rounder at left tackle right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Pace. Everybody,
yes. Yeah. Julian Davenport and Tevin Jenkins are both on the second string right now.
You can tell I really love
this is recent.
The Bears thing is not a bit. It's a big advantage.
It's crazy. Absolutely wild.
I mean, like Velus Jones Jr. was the other maybe better than N'Keal Harry.
He's their starting slot right now.
This roster is a disaster, man. Like
unbelievable.
I think we can all agree the team total under is the way to go this year for that. Even though we're talking.
Yeah, we kind of glossed over any chance that any secondary player could get this award. But off the top, Vaughn mentioned Kyle Hamilton, and he was expected to be a top 3 talent in this draft. He slid because he's slower than we all realized, I guess. But he ended up on a team that has the potential to be perceived as a top 5 defense. You could get to the end of the season and people look at the Ravens and be like, oh yeah, that's a top 5 defense, just on the basis of like how good some of the players are around a guy like Kyle Hamilton. Is there any path to him stealing this if none of these guys produce sacks, where somebody looks at a team, be it the Ravens or one of these other teams that has drafted an elite, pass defender, and they say, well, I mean, we'll give him some credit for, taking a team in like the Ravens who, desperately needed that type of player last year and didn't have him, and, really helped turn the tide? Or is that just not in the cards this year, Will?
I mean, I think it has to be. So I think I've done this right looking at it. It's possible I messed it up because I messed up all the time. But I believe since 1998, when I was in high school, that's a long time ago. 3 backs have won the Defensive Rookie of the Year award.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And 2 in the last, you have Marshawn Lattimore 2017 and Marcus Peters in 2015. I think then the last one would have been Charles Woodson, who won it in 98. But you look at Peters in 2015, 8 interceptions, which led the NFL. This is 280 return yards on interceptions. That is a wild number. And he had 2 touchdowns, 26 passes defense per PFR. So just a huge statistical season by a defensive back. And then you look at Marshawn Lattimore. Remember that 2000. So Lattimore won defensive and Kamara won offensive, because that 2017 draft class took the perennial 7-9 Saints and turned them into an 11-win team. And that was the year when Sean Payton was at the owners' meetings. Like, I got a contract in my briefcase. I'll sign it right now. You don't think I'll sign this contract? We're like, what are you talking about, Sean? But look at that season by him. For Lattimore, it's 5 picks, and he scored, in a touchdown return, forced fumble, fumble recovery, 18 passes defense. Like, you have to have banana stats as a defensive back to win this award, because at the end of the day, or just be somebody that nobody's throwing against. Because at the end of the day, when most of these voters are making these votes, you are voting for like 10 awards, right? Or maybe 5, 6, whatever you want. Like you're not zeroed in on, the coverage play by, every rookie defensive back. And most of these guys get exposed against elite NFL talent. So the stats have to be there for a rookie defensive back to win this award.
I feel like I'm talking myself out of Kyle Hamilton a little bit.
Yeah,
he's got to beat out Chuck Clark to even get the starting spot. They just signed Marcus Williams, who was of that elite Saints draft class as well. So he may not even really get the opportunity. Is there, there's not really anyone else that stands out that could have like the type of role Sauce Gardner, Stingley Jr. Like, I think we all agree, like the Jets and the Texans are going to be bad defenses.
And I do like
runs in the second half.
Kyrie Elam is an interesting one, I guess.
I like the narrative that you painted for Hamilton, though. I mean, there's going to be this natural like resurgence of the Ravens secondary from where they were last year. And if he can be a big part of that, he's obviously going to need to get the stats like Will mentioned, but you do have that little bonus for him of, the Ravens looking like the Ravens again on defense could help him.
Yeah, I have to agree with that for sure. It's going to be quite the market. I like where you guys are headed. So before we get out of here, I want to start with you, Will. Let us know what you're working on, where to find your work, and your favorite bet you gave us today. What's number one?
Work. It's July. It's major season. I actually don't think I'm really working very hard right now. You can check out my podcast. We were daily NFL podcast, Pick Six podcast. People can check that out on. We do. I'm technically a YouTuber now, I think. I had to tell my son that just so he's impressed by something I do. I think, YouTube, of course, youtube.com/pick6, and then Apple, whatever, Google, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. I'm gonna hang my hat on the long shot. I'm gonna say Bam Knight. Like I'm going to go bet that at
250 to 1. Okay.
251. Like it's outrageous, but this is such a wide open. Like we knew coming into this draft, and Pat could speak maybe better to this than I could, but like if for dynasty purposes, like I was trading away my future picks for this coming draft because there is not a ton of elite talent in this draft class, and you saw it, with the way that the actual draft played out and who was taken at the top. Like the offensive talent is not there for this rookie class. The quarterbacks are grossly mispriced, in my opinion, across the board because a lot of them won't see time, and there's a reason why only one of them went in the first round. You have guys like Treylon Burks and Drake London and Garrett Wilson, of course, who could see tons of targets, but they're still rookie wide receivers. And, several of them are on offenses, as we point out, like love to run the football. Who was it? The two highest expected or run above expectation was Atlanta and Tennessee. Like, so I'm gonna say the long shot. Give me old Bam Knight, 250 to 1. That's my favorite bet of the day.
That McDonald's money, $4 wins you 1,000. You become a national treasure if it hits here at NBC Sports. So I like it, Will. Pat, let us know about you, your favorite bet, and where we can find what you're working on this summer.
Yeah, I think my favorite bet was the Rachaad White one. It could all kind of come together for him where we're like, it's kind of easy to see him winning. He needs a couple things to break right. But a talented, athletic, pass-catching running back is always going to be fun to bet on. So, you can check out a good football show. We're having beat writers on every week to preview the divisions. So getting some really good information there, including that Greg Allman nugget about White being the number 2 running back there already. And we've got our team previews rolling out every day on NBC Sports Edge.
Well, make sure you guys are following them if you're not already. Will is at Will Brinson on Twitter. Pat is at Pat Kerrane on Twitter. Then you guys, I honestly learned a lot today. I hope everyone listening did as well. I can't wait for NFL season. I know you guys can't wait either. Thank you, guys. All right. It's time for the edge of the day, Drew. Are you ready, my friend? Because
it's going to be tough to be 250 to 1.
Yeah, the amount of lunch money we got on the show today, I was pretty excited about. So I'm going to take some shots in the dark today. I know that's what I'm up to on this Monday, but what are you up to betting on this Monday slate?
So the tennis has a weird week this week. We wrapped up grass season last week in Newport. Maxime Cressy takes home the title in Newport, Rhode Island. And we have this weird little intermediate week where they're playing on clay in Europe before we get started on the hard court North American swing in earnest. And the big tournament is in Hamburg, Germany, where they are playing for big time points, big time money in a 500 series ATP tournament event. And the Hamburg, Germany so far has been pretty chalky, not seeing any upsets so far. But that is going to change later today when Jan-Lennard Struff takes on Karen Khachanov of Russia. And Khachanov is a perfectly fine clay player. He's made runs at Roland Garros in the past. That is not in dispute. But he is coming into an informed Struff, who I think people are very, very, very slow to correctly assess what has happened to him through the 2022 campaign. He started out the season playing absolutely miserably. He was dealing with a number of injuries. He took an extended absence at one point to try to get himself right. And he came back for the grass tournament season, won an impressive match, and then ran into just some very, very informed players, but played his heart out. And I think he, in general, has more in the tank than people realize. I am banking some of my opinion on this because he went into Braunschweig at the challenger level last week, and he just went scorched earth on a field that was relatively strong. He did not lose a set, beating Delbonis, Taro Daniel, Laxinen, and Martyrer in the final on his way to having a championship at the challenger level. I think he carries that form right into Hamburg, where he beats Khachanov in round one. And honestly, I think Struff is a player that I'm going to bet a lot this week because I think he carries this winning form through to a decent run here at this tournament. So Jan-Lennard Struff on the money line for me. That is down to plus 106. I bet into it at plus 125 this morning. I think he ought to be a little bit of a favorite here. So I think there's still value at plus 108. And I would get involved in any way you can on Jan-Lennard Struff pulling off some magic in Hamburg.
So obviously the money's coming in your way. The sharps are on the same side as you if it's coming down that much. What's the difference? Because I want to know this personally, between you taking the plus 1.5, taking the money line for that one. Like, what's your determining factor?
So in general, you are trying to kind of understand or construct what the path to victory is for these two players if you're going to either play into a handicap or play a money line. And for clay, where you have a realistic it is easier to break players on clay than grass. A lot of Wimbledon, everything went 7-6, 6-7, 7. A lot of tie breaks, a lot of deep, very few service breaks just because of the speed of the surface. Clay is slower. There are more breaks. And what tends to happen is you get score lines that are more like 6-3, 6-2, 2-6, 4-6, right? And in those cases, you need the kind of just the right combination to get a handicap home. So I tend to steer well clear of the handicaps when we're on clay. And in general, if Jan-Lennard Struff is covering that handicap, it's because he's winning this match. It's not because, he loses a tiebreaker in the third and it was otherwise very, very close. So, in general, that's kind of my philosophy. The other kind of way to carry that forward is if you're betting into a totals market, I like games over for the most part on grass. I like sets over for the most part on clay, because again, if you're going to get a longer match, if your challenge, if your underdog has a little bit of fight, has a little bit of life, the chances that he wins a set by getting a couple of breaks versus just winning a tiebreaker is higher. And so, in general, I tend to try to bet over sets on clay, and I bet over games on grass when I have a live dog.
That is a veteran breakdown if I've ever heard one. I learned a lot right there, so I definitely appreciate that, Drew. I hope everyone else did too, because, yeah, you know me. I'm not into tennis betting. I tell yours, I look at yours, I try to learn from them and see if there's something I could take away from it. But, yeah, listen to you talk about it, I enjoy that a lot. So I'm going to go with something. I took a break from baseball. I said the second half of baseball season, it's out of the window for me. I'm not wasting my time and energy. But I do have one final bet, and it's in the home run derby. It's on the Childish Gambino. If you don't know who the Childish Gambino is, that's Juan Soto, ladies and gentlemen. This guy has a longest home run prop. It doesn't make much sense to me. It's in at 470.5 feet right now. He hit a home run in last year's Derby, 520 feet. So his prop of being 470.5 right now is just mind-boggling to me. That, and right now in July, he's on fire. He's batting .425, 5 homers, 10 RBIs. He's only hitting .250 on the season, but he ranks 6th among all outfielders with 19 home runs. He's on pace to pass his career high of 34 home runs. And little tidbit, because we all know when you're hitting the home run derby, you need a guy that has throw you good balls over the middle, real soft, just crushing them. Jorge Meja, thrown to him on the derby. Meja was Soto's offseason hitting coach in Dominican Republic for years. He's also a former Nationals minor league coach that worked with Soto to get his swing to where it's at right now. So I like all the factors for Juan Soto to go over 470 and a half feet for his longest home run. Like I said, he hit 520 last year. He's mashing in July. Seems like a no-brainer to me. What do you think, Drew?
That sounds fun to me. I think the park sets up well for him. The conditions look good for long home runs here. So, 470 and a half seems like a bettable number. I'll ride with you on that. Juan Soto, get it done, buddy.
Let's go, the Childish Gambino, baby. So plenty of plays today all across the NFL market. We got MLB and we got tennis. So hopefully you guys can make some money with us. That is Drew Dinsick, the Well Capper. I am Vaughn Dalzell. And don't forget to check out NBCSports.com. You have all the info you guys need after you're done listening to us. Continue helping you with your wagers. We appreciate you guys for watching on our YouTube channel, NBC Sports Edge. And again, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Good luck with your plays, and we'll see you guys later this week.